Last episode, Harper and Declan's coffee meeting revealed deeper feelings than either expected. When Declan admitted he had been watching her at the bookstore for weeks and wanted an excuse to spend time with her, Harper felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. Even as she insisted real life was more complicated than the romance novels she loved. 3 days had passed since their coffee shop conversation, and Harper could not concentrate on anything. Every time she tried to read, she found herself thinking about the way his voice had dropped when he had leaned close to her ear. Every time a customer asked for a book recommendation, she remembered how his eyes had darkened when she had called him dangerously different. She was shelving returns in the romance section when the bell above the door chimed. Harper did not need to look up to know it was him. Her heart had started racing the moment he had stepped inside. "Good afternoon, Harper." His warm voice made her pulse flutter gently. She turned around, and her breath caught. He was wearing a soft gray sweater that made his green eyes even more striking, and he was carrying 2 coffee cups and a bag from the bakery next door. "Declan," she said, her voice coming out softer than intended. We do not have another session scheduled until tomorrow." "I know." His smile was almost shy. "But I was walking by and I thought, maybe you would like some company during your lunch break." Harper glanced at the clock. It was exactly noon, her usual lunchtime. The fact that he had remembered this small detail made something warm bloom in her chest. Harper looked around the empty store. Mrs. Chen had gone to the bank, and they typically had a lull around this time. "I suppose I could take a few minutes." His smile brightened. "Perfect. I brought sustenance." He set the coffee cups on the counter and opened the bakery bag, revealing 2 croissants that smelled absolutely divine. "Almond," he said, noticing her expression. "The barista at Grind mentioned you always get the almond croissant when you come in." Harper stared at him. "You asked about me?" A faint blush colored his cheeks. "I may have made some inquiries for research purposes." "Research," Harper repeated, fighting back a smile. "Absolutely," he said, his eyes twinkling. "I am studying the eating habits of romance literature experts." Harper laughed despite herself. "And what have you discovered, Dr. Wright?" "That you have excellent taste in pastries," he said, settling onto the stool behind the counter. "And that you always read during lunch, usually while eating said pastry." "Very thorough research," Harper said, accepting the coffee cup he offered. Their fingers brushed as she took it, and she felt that familiar electric spark. "I am nothing if not dedicated to my craft," he said softly. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sharing their impromptu lunch. Harper was acutely aware of how intimate this felt. Sitting together in the quiet bookstore, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows, the gentle sounds of the city muffled by the walls lined with thousands of love stories. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "Of course." "Yesterday, when you said you do not do relationships, what did you mean?" Harper's coffee cup paused halfway to her lips. "It is complicated. Try me." Harper set down her cup, considering her words carefully. I think I fell in love with the idea of love before I understood what real love actually required." He leaned forward slightly, his attention completely focused on her. "When I was 16, Harper continued, I read Pride and Prejudice for the first time, and I became completely obsessed with the idea of finding my Mr. Darcy, someone who would see past my flaws and love me exactly as I am. That does not sound unreasonable." "It is not," Harper agreed, "but I spent so many years reading about perfect love that I never learned how to navigate imperfect reality. Real relationships require compromise and communication and vulnerability, things that terrify me." He was quiet for a moment. "What terrifies you most?" Harper's breath caught at the gentle way he asked the question. No judgment, no pressure. Just genuine curiosity. Being disappointing, she whispered. In books, the heroine is always worth fighting for. She is special enough to change the hero, to make him want to be better. But what if I am just ordinary? What if someone gets to know the real me and decides I am not worth the effort? The vulnerability in her voice hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. Harper, he said softly, and something in his tone made her look up at him. What? You are not ordinary. You do not know me well enough to say that. Do not I? His eyes were serious now. I know you can discuss the emotional depth of a romance novel with the passion of a literature professor. I know you remember every customer's favorite genre and can recommend the perfect book for any mood. I know you care so much about authentic storytelling that you will risk humiliating yourself to defend it. Harper's heart was doing something acrobatic in her chest. I know you notice things other people miss, he continued, like the way someone reacts to embarrassment, or the small kindnesses that reveal character. And I know that when you believe in something, when you care about something, you give it everything you have. Harper stared at him, completely speechless. Those are not ordinary qualities, Harper. They are extraordinary. The air between them felt charged with something electric and dangerous. Harper was vaguely aware that she should probably say something, but all her words seemed to have disappeared. Declan, she finally whispered. I know this is complicated, he said, standing up and moving around the counter toward her. I know you are scared, and I know I am probably the last person you should trust with your heart. Why? Harper asked, though she was not sure she wanted to know the answer. Because I make my living writing fantasy, he said, stopping just inches away from her. Because I am still learning the difference between fiction and reality. Because I might mess this up in spectacular fashion. Harper's pulse was thundering in her ears. Then why? Because I have never felt anything this real before, he said, his voice dropping to something rough and honest. Because when I am with you, I stop thinking about plot devices and character development and just feel. Harper's breath hitched. What do you feel? Like I have been writing about something I had never experienced, he said, reaching up to brush a strand of hair away from her face. And now I finally understand what I was missing. The touch of his fingers against her cheek was feather-light, but Harper felt it everywhere. Her eyes fluttered closed for just a moment, and when she opened them, he was looking at her like she was something precious. Harper, he whispered. Yes? I would like to kiss you now, if that is something you want. Harper's heart stopped, then started again at double speed. Every rational thought in her head was screaming at her to be careful, to protect herself, to remember that this was dangerous territory. But looking into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability there, feeling the way her entire body seemed to come alive when he was near. Yes, she whispered. I want that. His smile was soft and reverent. He moved slowly, giving her every opportunity to change her mind until his hands were cupping her face gently. Are you sure? He asked, his thumb tracing along her cheekbone. Instead of answering, Harper rose up on her toes and closed the distance between them. The moment their lips met, Harper understood why all those romance novels spent so much time describing first kisses. This was not just physical. It was like every nerve ending in her body suddenly came alive. His lips were soft and warm, and he kissed her with a gentleness that made her heart ache. When they finally broke apart, Harper was breathless and slightly dizzy. Wow, she whispered. Yeah, he agreed, his voice rough. Wow. They stood there for a moment, foreheads touching, sharing the same air. So, Harper said softly, was that authentic enough for your research? His laugh was low and warm. I think I need a lot more research before I can write that accurately. Harper felt herself smiling. I suppose I could help with that. I was hoping you would say that, he murmured, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. The bell above the door chimed, and they sprang apart just as Mrs. Chen walked in, carrying a bag from the bank. Oh, hello, Declan, Mrs. Chen said with a knowing smile. Back for more book recommendations? Something like that, he said. His cheeks slightly flushed. He turned to Harper. I should probably let you get back to work. Probably, Harper agreed, though she made no move to step away from him. Dinner tomorrow? He asked quietly, so only she could hear. After our official session, I know a place that serves amazing Italian food and has terrible lighting for reading. Perfect for conversation. Harper's pulse quickened. That sounds dangerous, he suggested with a teasing smile. Perfect, Harper finished, surprising herself with her boldness. His smile was brilliant. I will pick you up at 7. After he left, Harper stood behind the counter, touching her lips and trying to process what had just happened. That boy is completely smitten with you, Mrs. Chen said gently. I know, Harper whispered, and you are falling for him too. Harper looked at her mentor, feeling vulnerable and terrified and exhilarated all at once. I think I am. Good, Mrs. Chen said with satisfaction. It is about time you had your own love story instead of just reading about everyone else's. That evening, Harper lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of their kiss. She could still feel the ghost of his hands on her face, could still taste the coffee and sweetness on his lips. For the first time in her life, she was more interested in her own story than any book she could pick up, and that thought was absolutely terrifying and completely thrilling. Tomorrow could not come fast enough. Their first kiss changed everything, but some secrets can destroy even the truest love. Don't miss the next episode.